So, hey everybody, I'm Kevin, and I'm sitting here with Dr. Mark Gordon, cardiologist and friend from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. So I had Doc Mark in Wisconsin last night at a place called Brookfield, and we rocked the room. We had a room set up for about 50, and we had 93 people. 93! I don't even have fingers for 93. But, you know, we had 93 people there, and we had a heck of a lot of fun. And Dr. Mark talked about the science of NRF2 and Protandim and how it activates that. And he also talked about the opportunity that we have here at LifeVantage. So I thought it would be fun to bring you in, and you graciously accepted to do an interview to help those of you that are distributors or maybe thinking about being a distributor, you know, make a decision to come on board or get active. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So he's actually on a tundra tour. And today he's got to take off. He's going to Minnesota and South Dakota and North Dakota, and you're also in Iowa and where else?
Nebraska.
In Nebraska. I mean, the dude is all over the place. Now, as a cardiologist, I'm sure everybody's wondering, well, how can you do that?
I'm retired now.
Oh, he's retired. Look how old this guy is. He's retired. How'd you retire?
You know, LifeVantage gave me the opportunity to do so. It replaced my income as a cardiologist, and now I can pursue my passion, which is preventive and integrative medicine, and that's ultimately my goal, is to open a clinic doing that.
Yeah. Now, I know that not too long ago you got your fellowship in anti-aging. Is that correct?
Yep, I completed a fellowship in anti-aging and regenerative medicine.
Okay.
And, you know, learned a lot about natural treatment options, as many people are now asking for that, you know, as opposed to pharmaceuticals. They want something more natural, and there really is a lot of stuff out there that works. It's just that most doctors don't know about it.
Yeah. And so as a doctor, how did you learn about this, and why did you find it to be something that was really important to pay attention to?
Well, I've always had an interest in prevention, and in the early days after my fellowship, you know, I was looking at medications that could help prevent problems. And then I went to a conference down in Arizona, a nutrition and health conference, where they started talking about nutritional therapies and supplement therapies and so forth. And that kind of really opened my eyes to the possibility that there was another world out there for health.
Okay.
And that was probably 10 years ago that I went to that. So then I started looking into more natural things, supplements, nutrition, and so forth. And that led me down the path to having an open mind to alternative therapies. And as patients would come in and they'd have a list of supplements that they were on, and they'd say, "Hey doc, I'm on these supplements, what do you think about that?" Then I would go and research them and find out what science was behind them. So I've always had an open mind, at least for the last 10 years, for things like that.
So when your patients would come in, let me get this right, you would actually research the products that they were doing, even if they weren't a medicine?
Well, the medicines that they were on, I would know what they did.
Okay.
But a lot of the supplements, I wouldn't. So I took that time to educate myself, and I'd look up, okay, what does curcumin do, or what does red yeast rice do, and educated myself on those things. And it sparked my interest so much that I ultimately decided, you know, I'd love to do a fellowship in this.
Yeah.
And one of the programs I looked at was at the University of Arizona, but the time commitment was just too great, and I couldn't really afford to take that amount of time out of my practice to do it. But then I found this fellowship program through the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine that fit into my time constraints. So I've done that over the last 3 years, and I've just been like a kid at the first day of medical school. It's just been so fun and exciting, a new way of doing things.
Yeah. When you find your passion, that just kind of happens, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about this guy is that you are passionate about a lot of different things. We have a lot in common. We're sitting actually in my basement right now, and I got guitars around, and just a couple minutes ago I'm hearing him playing a little lick on Boston, and, you know, a tune to my guitar that's been hanging on the wall way too long. And it was kind of fun, but it's neat to know that, and, you know, he's into cars and motorcycles, and you're just a normal guy.
Yeah.
You know, you're just not a doctor that goes out and, hey, I'm a doctor, let me tell you about this, and you got to listen to me. You're just a normal guy talking about a company and a product that you have passion with. Is that right?
Absolutely. And the passion that I developed for LifeVantage and Protandim came because of my interest in preventive and alternative therapies. And so when it was originally presented to me through that ABC News investigative report, I was skeptical. I thought that this was going to be another one of those things that didn't have any science backing, but I was pleasantly surprised when I found all of the research that they had on this. And that's what led me down the path to do my due diligence, find out about the NRF2 pathway, how it worked, became excited about that, and saw it as a potential for improving health for a lot of people. And that's why I got excited.
Okay. I know that this product and this company has meant a lot to you and your family. What would you say the number one thing that has changed in your family because of saying yes to network marketing and LifeVantage and sharing the science of NRF2 and Protandim?
Well, it's opened up opportunities that never existed. Opportunities for more free time with the family, be able to, spend some time with my kids rather than being at the hospital all the time. And that there's not a price that you can put on that.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing for our family.
Yeah. I know you were telling me a story about what your son had wished for in 2014 on his Christmas list. Would you share that story with us?
Yeah. So our kids wrote their Christmas lists out in 2014, and my son wrote on there he wanted a stay-at-home, fun Pro-9 dad. And I couldn't get him that for Christmas in 2014, but we got it for him in 2015.
You absolutely did.
And last weekend, he and I went out to the Black Hills and had a long weekend together, just the two of us. We had a great time. It was a great father-son bonding experience.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to many more of those.
You don't get those years back with your kids. So.
Exactly.
In fact, one of the people in our business, Stu Brody, one of the things I love about this guy, he's very successful in his company, and he's been a successful network marketer since 1989. But one of the things that he does better than anybody else is he keeps his family together because he gets them to vacation with him. So now he's got these adult kids. Hey, we're going to go here and there, and the kids want to go. And I love his stories about that we're going to keep the family together longer because they're going to want to go home and go on vacations and have fun. And I'm sure you feel the same way about that.
Yeah, you got to develop those relationships while the kids are young so that they appreciate it. And so hopefully they'll want to come back after they're out of the house.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know there's probably somebody out there watching the video that is a doctor, a medical professional, and they're probably maybe even reluctantly watching this because you're the doctor and somebody said, hey, you got to listen to what this guy has to say. If I was one of those people tuning in, what would you tell me as a medical professional to medical professional?
Well, the first thing is you have to pay attention to the new trends, and this NRF2 pathway is a huge new trend. And if you don't pay attention to it 5 years from now, it's going to creep up on you, and you're going to go, gee, why didn't I pay attention to this 5 years ago? So, number one, you have to educate yourself on the NRF2 pathway and what it can do, what it can mean for health. And then number two, if you're thinking about this as a business opportunity, you have to get your arms around the whole network marketing aspect of it, which is very difficult for physicians.
I think it's difficult for everybody, let's be honest.
You're right. I think that professionals, it's even more difficult because the reason why is they think it's beneath them.
Okay.
Honestly, I think that there's a certain amount of snobbery that goes with certain professions, and they feel that because anybody can do network marketing, why would they invest their time and effort into something that anybody could do? They think it's beneath them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know there's a lot of research out there, and people say, hey, read this study, doc. If you read this study, you're really gonna see what we're on to. And those studies, a lot of times people will or they won't read them. But what did those studies mean to you when you were reading through some of the information involved when you were first taking a look at this?
Yeah, so when I first saw that ABC News investigative report, I went to PubMed and I downloaded all the studies and I read them. And Circulation published a study. That's the American Heart Association Scientific Journal. And when I saw that they had published a study about Protandim, that was the point at which I knew that this was real and legitimate, and I had to educate myself on the NRF2 pathway and what all it could do. And I think it's important for people to realize that what we have our hands on is not some Me Too deal. This is truly a revolution in health and science. And you just need to get a basic understanding of it. You don't have to know it in great detail as a layperson. If you're a scientist or a healthcare practitioner, perhaps you're going to want to go more in depth. But just understand that what we have our hands on here is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how's it feel to be a retired cardiologist at your young age and know that the income that you have coming in is residual now, and you don't have to wake up every morning to a pager, or you don't have to be on call and those kind of things? How does that make you feel?
Well, it hasn't really sunk in yet because it hasn't been that long, and I've been very busy in the last several weeks. But it's nice not having to carry that pager, because that would be what would tie you to something, and usually when it went off, it was because of something that you had to go deal with, and if that was 2 o'clock in the morning, you had to get up out of bed and go deal with it. And I've been on call for 20 plus years, about every fourth night, and it's taxing to do that. And so now I have the freedom to do what I'm passionate about, and that is this, LifeVantage, but also pursue my passion of preventive and integrative medicine, which is what I plan to do at some point down the road, open a clinic doing that. And as you were saying earlier, one of the things that's nice about this is it allows people to pursue those things that they're passionate about without worrying about the financial part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like for me, for an example, the science, I don't have a fellowship in anti-aging, nor do I want one. I'm obviously not, as we're looking on this camera, the most fit guy in the world, so it's not all about, staying lean and mean here. But I love people, and this has brought me closer to people that are my kind of people. Happy, positive, motivated people that want to help others and get more out of life. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that has happened to us since we've been involved with this is we've developed relationships with people that we didn't know 5 years ago, and now they're some of our closest friends. And they're some of the most positive, upbeat people that you can possibly imagine. And those are the type of people that you want to surround yourselves with.
Yeah.
Too many people that I know go into their office, their day job, and everybody's frustrated and disgruntled because the boss is piling more work on them, and they just want to get home and spend time with their families, but because they've got more work, they got to stay later. And that's just a trend in the corporate world. People are trying to squeeze more and more work out of fewer and fewer people to keep the costs down. And that's affecting family lives all across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, the number one thing that's happened for me is that I'm a be-at-home dad. And I absolutely love that. And people ask me, well, what's it mean to be a be-at-home dad? I used to be a mortgage banker, as you know, and for many years of my life, I did very well financially, but I was miserable. And now, after going through a divorce, one of the things that I was really scared of is I didn't want to see my kid half the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so by being a be-at-home dad, I'm able to be here and make the choice to be at home when my kid gets off the bus, make him some food, so he has some hot lunch or something when he gets home, or a snack. And that choice that this company and this kind of a business model has given me has been very valuable, because it doesn't feel like work when you choose to go. Mm-hmm. It feels like work when somebody tells you when you got to be there and when you got to stay to. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The freedom, the time freedom that this gives you to run your life the way that you want to is something that you just can't get in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
The corporate world, you have a time clock, you punch in, you punch out, and you have to be there when they tell you to be there. Here, you make your own schedule. Now, you need to be self-disciplined and able to abide by your own schedule so that your business can be successful, but you can set your own parameters as to how you're going to do it.
Yeah. And, I think one of the knocks on network marketing is usually when you're pitched the opportunity, and it's usually comes with you're going to be a millionaire, overnight. And I think both of us know that that is not true. Yet, it takes hard work, but the potential is there.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens for people. So I believe that it can work. But here's a guy like you. You're Pro 9 in a company, which is nearly the very top of our company. The income that you make as a Pro 9, people, if you're watching this and you don't know that, you should look at the income disclosure statement, because it's very significant. And it is life-changing because you don't work for it every single day. It's residual, and it comes in from work that you did in the past. Would you say that the transfer from working for money compared to residual was a big change for you to understand, and how did that work in your life?
It is a big difference because, so many people are out there trading dollars for hours. You go to work for a boss, they pay you. You don't go to work anymore, they stop paying you. But with residual income, that money keeps coming in month after month after month for work that you did in the past. It's like an author who writes a best-selling book,
Yeah.
and they keep selling it over and over and over, and they keep that royalty income coming in. That's what residual income is. And once you understand the power of residual income and the freedom that gives you, if you could teach a course on this, everybody in the world would want to go out and find a way to get residual income, because it
Yeah.
just frees you up to do those things that you love.
You love, yeah. So one of the things that I hear from people when they're thinking about this opportunity, or any of this kind of an opportunity, regardless of what company you're in, network marketing or whatever, is, it sounds great, I just don't have time for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a busy cardiologist and as a father of 2 kids and I have a beautiful wife, I know you didn't have time for this either.
Right.
So how did you balance your life?
Well, that was one of the first things that my wife and I talked about, was the fact that we didn't have time to do this. And what we found over time was that you didn't necessarily have to carve out large blocks of time to do this. Now, some people do that, and that's great if that works for them. But for us, we just kind of wove it into our day-to-day interactions with individuals. So we would, meet somebody at a coffee shop, or we would just see somebody in a store on the street that we knew, and we'd say, hey, Bob, how you doing? And we'd just have a conversation. And if the opportunity presented itself, if they brought up some issue related to health or finances, we would use that as a way to open them up to the opportunity that we had here with LifeVantage. And so for us, we found that these organic conversations, just letting them flow and see where they go, were much more impactful, for us at least, than picking up the phone and say, hey, Bob, you got to take a look at this.
Yeah.
That just wasn't natural for us. Now, that works for some people, and that's fine. But for us, we like the more personal touch, the more one-on-one interaction, develop that relationship, and then move it forward if it feels right.
Yeah. All right. So the last question I want to ask you is, a lot of people will come up to you. I've heard it after meetings, and they're like, my cousin's friend's brother's sister has XYZ, fill in the blank disease. Will Protandim help with that disease? What's your advice to those people when they're asking you that question, and what should they do to try and find out that answer?
Well, first off, they have to remember that Protandim is not a drug, it's a supplement. And what it does is it makes the cells do what they were designed to do. Mm-hmm. And so because it's a supplement and not a drug, we can't make any health claims. So I make that very clear to them up front. And then when they ask, will it help with X, Y, or Z, I say, here's what you do. You go to PubMed, you type in disease X, Y, or Z, and oxidative stress, and see if there's a link.
Mm-hmm. And if there is, Protandim does what?
It reduces oxidative stress.
How much?
40% in 30 days.
And that's a statement that we can make.
Yep, the FDA allows us to make that statement.
So you guys, it's that simple. Protandim reduces oxidative stress an average of 40% in 30 days. And if you understand how important that is, you would be taking this product every single day. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing else in the world that has been proven to reduce oxidative stress to that level consistently. Is that correct?
Correct.
What question should they ask their doctor in regards to whether or not they should take the supplement?
Well, most doctors aren't going to know what Nerf2 is. They're not going to know what Protandim is. And because Protandim is sold through network marketing, they're going to be generally very negative about it. So the question to ask your doctor is, would reducing oxidative stress be a good thing for my health? And if the answer to that is yes, that's pretty much all the validation that you need. And if they start to ask you why you're asking about that, or if Protandim comes up in the conversation and they're negative about it, one of the other things that you can ask them is to have them describe to you what Nerf2 is. And chances are they're probably not going to be able to, and if they can't, then they really don't have any basis on which to make any recommendations one way or the other with regard to whether or not a person should take it.
Yeah. And I heard you say to somebody last night that really, you got to understand that your doctor is really working for you. You've hired him. And so you can ask them to do some research before they give advice. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Some will, some won't. It depends upon how interested they are and how busy they are and how committed they are to your health. But you're right. You're paying them for a service, and you would expect them to research it if it's something that you want to do.
So, well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Kevin.
I hope you guys got something out of this. And again, thank you for coming to Wisconsin. I just want to leave on this one thing. You guys, what I love about this guy and network marketing and all the people that I've met in this industry is they are willing to help people just because they're helping people. Mark, in our business, no longer really needs me in his business to grow. Yet when I made a phone call and said, Mark, would you please come to Wisconsin? He didn't even think about it. He just said, yes, and this is a date that I'll be there. And so 8 hours in a car. He's got kind of a girl car, but we won't talk about that. 8 hours in a car. I did my research, just by the way. It is the #1 girl car.
No, it's not.
He says because it's
flat
black.
black.
It's flat black, so it's not a girl car then. But anyway, he said, no problem. He was here. So as you can see, this guy is just an awesome, awesome dude. And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Even with your girl car and driving 8 hours to Wisconsin and, continuing your Tundra tour for more of my group into Minneapolis tonight.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care.
Goodbye.
We'll see you guys.